are best enjoyed on a mobile device? What facets of that experience are best enjoyed in an automobile while still driving safely? What facets of that experience really require a screen about the size of that wall so that a room full of smart people can all have access to the data? And different facets of that experience need to be orchestrated into something that has certain shared truth of common data, certain shared truth of a trust model that aligns with regulatory and marketplace requirements and expectations. That's UX design. It's not UI design, it's not application development. It's really building models of the business that create competitive advantage and that use all of the channels that people expect you to be using to serve them. Now, there's one that is not there. Oh, there it was, down at number 16. Remember when being a software engineer was hot? Yeah, we've got algorithms for that now. We'll talk about that a little later on when we talk about talent in more depth. When I'm talking with people about the jobs of the future, I'm reminded of the observation that in the 1860s, something like, when artillery became a thing on the battlefield, if my crew can fire twice as many balls from the same cannon as your crew, effectively I've got twice as many cannons. Force multiplier. And so in World War I, the performance of artillery crews was a really important differentiator for one army versus another. And in World War II, the generals did what generals always do, fight the previous war with new technology. They had better cannons. They still had the 5-man artillery crew because that's what they'd always had. When the U.S. entered World War II, an American general was receiving a demonstration from the French, who were proud of their over a century of practice, of the choreography of a crack artillery team. But at the end of the demo, he said, "What's the 5th man for?" Didn't seem to be real busy. They weren't sure. Is it there because one of the others might get shot? We want to have the replacement standing by? Okay, that could sort of make sense. Sometime around the 1980s, the United States finally put out a report, which I have a version of here, dated 2002, that redefines the standard artillery crew from 5 men to 4. Turns out you don't need someone to hold the horses and keep them from running away when they're scared by the loud noises. Now, if you've looked at the college catalog lately, I guarantee you will find a lot of courses in advanced horse holding. Oh, I heard an amen. Thank you. Thank you. Can I have an amen on that? Yeah. If you look at many curricula, you will find that they are educating you to do jobs which, if they may possibly still exist today, not real obvious they're going to be around. I mean, when I was in high school, last thing we did before Christmas vacation was pass a test on slide rule. In chemistry class, yeah, they wanted to be able to give us problems on the exams for the rest of the year that hadn't been carefully constructed to make the math, really, really easy, and you couldn't be expected to own a 4-function calculator. That was a $400 piece of gear. You couldn't expect a high school student to show up with a calculator. So slide rule was an essential tool of chemistry class. Okay, fast forward a couple of years. Differential equations class at MIT. There's a programmable calculator problem set. It assumes that you'll go to the lab and sign up for an hour on the programmable calculator for the one lecture in a semester course on numerical methods that used, things you really needed a computer to do. Okay, that was my freshman year. 1 year after that, when my wife was a freshman, the course is no longer called differential equations. It's called differential equations and numerical methods, and it's assumed that every student owns their own programmable calculator because at that point they cost half as much and did twice as much as the one that I had gotten through my freshman year with. This is hockey stick exponential improvement. And it's still going on because when my son, bless his heart, was an MIT freshman, they were all assumed to have computers that ran MATLAB, which would have been considered supercomputer grade stuff when I was there. This is not slowing down. People keep thinking that these exponential hockey stick curves will level off and turn into S-curves. Find me an example outside of a biology lab where the bacteria choke on their own waste products. I'm sorry, it's not happening in tech. Bandwidth, speed, mobility, these curves continue to grow, and failing to bet with conviction that exponential improvement will continue will guarantee that you are aiming too low. And it sucks to aim too low, because you wind up delivering a better, faster, cheaper version. You wind up delivering an electrically operated abacus. It's a great abacus. There has never been a faster abacus. It is not what anyone wants, no matter how good it is. So beware. Beware of force holding. For example, there's coding. I got in some trouble when I failed clearly to make the statement that I'm about to share with you. I've clarified it somewhat. Is it still necessary to learn to code? Yes. Elementary school students should learn to code, just like they learn to sharpen a pencil. You can't show up to work without a sharp pencil and the ability to write code. That doesn't mean it's going to be your job description. Doesn't mean it's going to be your principal value add. I also had to show up at work today, so I need a driving license living in LA. Does that mean my job is driver? Let's talk about drivers. There's a driver. Got some stuff, got some skills, got some certifications. Does this sound familiar? Makes $90,000 a year. It's a good job. In some states, it can already legally be replaced by a robot, but, there's still 5-6 years left. It's not a long time. Now, the problem is, people getting their driving licenses really secretly hope they'll be this guy. $30 million a year. That's a heck of a range. There are only 2 disciplines I know where the gap between world-class performer and merely adequate performer is this great: driving and coding. You look at the Olympics, top 3 100-yard, 100-meter dash runners on the podium. Number 4 was probably only a few hundredths of a second behind, and a high school track star might have been only a few hundredths of a second behind them. The gap is really, really small. But coders, we know 10x coders. Drivers, we know Formula One drivers. And yeah, they're worth every penny. But the problem is people who get a driving license hoping to be that and willing to settle for being that wind up being him. We used to call them truck driver programmers, but I think Uber driver programmers is probably closer. It is becoming a gig economy. It is becoming a, it's an okay skill. We can, throw you an assignment here. But increasingly, it's not going to be the heart of a career. A necessary skill, absolutely. But you will be a biologist who codes, a retail guru who codes, and so on. Think in code, you must be able to think in code. You must recognize opportunities to make something an iteration, or a pattern, or an API that can be published and monetized. But a career as a coder, maybe not so much. And I realize I'm thinking, playing a long game here, but once you have grandchildren, you start to do that. Especially because software developers routinely now say, I'm expecting that some of the things I used to get paid to do will be done by algorithms. At Facebook, they have AIs writing the AI. For those of you who remember Will Smith in the movie I, Robot, was really actually not an Asimov story. They stole Asimov's laws and plugged them into a different robot story called With Folded Hands, which you really should go read sometime. But when he was talking about the factory, and they said, well, the robots do it. You got robots building your robots? Well, yes. Well, that's just stupid. Yeah, that was his reaction. When developers were surveyed about the 3 biggest threats they saw to their career, number 1, premature commitment to something that goes nowhere. Think Silverlight. Number 2, prolonged commitment to something 1 or 2 years too long. I'm sorry, Microsoft, but think .NET. But their number 1 fear, AI replacing key parts of their job. This is the developer saying, this is what I worry about most, and it is happening. Increasingly, stuff gets done by an algorithm. For example, any of you ever used Google Translate? It's okay translating from one major language to another major language. It's been educated by crowdsourced idiomatic substitution by the user community. Yeah, this phrase would be better for that. Early Google Translate would translate "you're fired" in English to literally "you have been set aflame" in another language. Idiomatic, not so good, needed some work on that. But it didn't work very well for minor language to minor language. It might say, oh, well, code, to go from that language to this, and we have to go through French to English and back down. And boy,